What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, man?
Oh, chilling like the villain I am.
Well, Will, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Big Boy Life podcast. Today we have a special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Jake Wade. How are you doing today, sir? Can you hear me?
I'm good. I'm good, brother. I'm good.
All right, all right. So what's been going on in your life, man?
Oh man. Um, where to start? You know, uh, picking up the pieces yet again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, no. Let the people know what you mean by that. Picking up the
well,
pieces.
all right. Well,
Like I said, you don't gotta tell all your business, but you can just you can
I
summarize it to the point. You get what I'm saying?
I got this. Well, I 38 years old, starting over again for the fourth time now in my life. Um, just picking up the pieces. Love lost, love won. Um, Starting everything over again, brother.
That's about how it is in life, man. Because I mean, I've been through a lot of failed relationships. You know, I've been engaged I've been engaged two or three times, and been in a long term relationship, and it feels like you give all your all to it, and then for some reason, year or two down the road, or wherever how long is that everything kind of falls apart. And it's like I've noticed, and then you start blaming yourself, like I could have did this differently, I could have did that differently, and I could have this, but you know, but then you really actually now think about it, like if I would have done these things differently, would it made a difference today? You know?
I mean, that's all well and good, big boy. Um, you can look at things like that from that perspective. Um, However, if you would just stop for 3 seconds and realize that everything you do in life, every step that you take in life, is nothing more than just a stepping stone. It's
Right.
um, it's a stone to step on to get you from one point to another. Um, Sometimes things are going to work out and they're going to be wonderful and they are going to be amazing and they will work out the way you want them to. And then other times, you think you know what you want and uh, turns out that what you thought you wanted um, absolutely was the polar opposite of what you truly needed, truly thought and felt was the desire of your heart. Because most of the time, we as human beings and as individuals don't stop to realize that we have absolutely zero idea of what we want and what we need. And the things that we think we want and need, oftentimes, turn around and just kind of bite us in the rear end. But no matter how low you get, no matter what you go through, no matter if you feel completely lost, um, there are always three people that you can always count on: God, your mama, and your friends.
Right.
And if all of us would take a step back and just realize that at the end of every day, everybody would be a lot better off.
And I completely agree with you on what you said earlier about how you think you know what you want, but you really don't know what you want. That's how it is. That's how I feel sometimes. It's like I think I want this life. This, how the old saying is, man, the white picket fence and the kids and the house. You know what I'm saying? Like that that thought and that phrase and that lifestyle that has been preached, that has been pounded in our heads ever since we were kids.
Yeah,
And
the
you
American
try
dream. The
right, and you
American dream.
exactly. and you try to strive for that, and end up and it ends up failing when you don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then it end up life and the realism of the American dream is you're stuck in working in a factory or this and that, and you're going through failed relationships, either with friends, family, or whoever. So that's just life. That's just what's just thrown at us.
Well, here's the thing, man. Everybody's walk, everybody's journey, everything is different for each
Exactly.
individual person. Um, Black, white, yellow, purple, red, green. Doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. Doesn't matter if you're from another planet. Um, Basic human need, basic human emotion, basic human mentality. We are all exactly the same. And if everybody would stop trying to separate and divide things by race or color and everything like that, and realize that mental health, um, mental well-being, and just the strive for just humanity in general is just the basic need of feeling wanted, feeling needed, feeling secure, having what you want, having what you need, being able to survive in life, and everything else. It would go a long way to breaking down race barriers. It would go a long way to breaking down, just a lot of the crap that still, for some reason, in fucking almost 2022, still divides our damn society.
Right.
If we would all apply biblical principle, just straight biblical principle, and I don't pretend to be a man of faith. I mean, I am, but I don't oppress my faith upon anybody. Um, if we would all just step back and accept the fact that, if we would do unto others as we would have them do unto us, or if we would be mindful of other people and other people's surroundings and what somebody may be going through that you have no idea about, it could do leaps and bounds just for humanity in general. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the problem. Everybody, especially now in society, like we see it now, that people are just feel like they're entitled. They're entitled to this. They're entitled to that. And I'm not going to go into no political thing on this, but you know, I think the that the political weather has made people into that because of what has happened in last year and it's still going on now. And people just have lost all sense of humanity on caring or wherever the case may be. And then, and that's as far as relationships too, because everybody seems to do this there for themselves, and it's like, man,
Look, the simple basic truth that people need to realize about relationships, you need to go into it with one mind frame mentality and only one. And it's as simple as this. Okay. Either it's going to work or it's not going to work. If it
right,
works out and everything pans out for you and you find you're happily ever after, oh my God, hold on to it. Cherish it. Do everything you can to nurture it. Do not forget where you came from. Do not forget what brought you guys together. And always do everything you can to strive to nurture and move that relationship forward every day. Do everything you can, sacrifice of yourself every single day, die to yourself every day to put that person always ahead of you. And if you nurture a relationship that way and you take care of someone that way, I'm telling you right now, you will find the love that you've been looking for an entire lifetime.
you
That's the
know,
pot. That's the positive side.
right. And I noticed, one thing I noticed like what you, well, we had a discussion earlier tonight at work. And I noticed that you said one thing that kind of triggered me a little bit is that you remember like how you was like when you're in a relationship, how when you start off in a relationship, you did these little things in the relationship, and then as you get comfortable in a relationship, those little things that you did that start off in a relationship, they tend to get pushed away. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like how you start off a relationship, you always go open the door for the person you're with, or this or every now and then to do flowers or whatever the case may be. But then as the time goes by, the two people get comfortable with each other, and the next thing you know it, those little things you did for some reason we just stopped doing it, and and like older couples and stuff. Like I had my grandfather and stuff. That rest in peace. Both of them. I know they loved their wife, and you didn't really hear the I love yous and stuff in those old school relationships. You know, and and now these days, everybody's so quick to say I love you. And not really understand the true meaning of those three words.
Well, but see, that's the thing, and you just touched on that, big boy. Um, you know, society has changed.
Right.
Moral values have changed.
Hmm.
Where we were, 50 years ago is not where we are now as a society. Um,
Right.
some of that obviously is for the better. I will
Hmm.
100% support that.
Right.
And but some of it, when you get away from core base and core values, some of it is actually kind of worse.
Right.
Because 50 years ago, when you had problems in a relationship, you did
You
everything
work.
you could to work it out.
Right.
You did everything you could to make sure that everything was taken care of.
Right.
But you know, in today's society, divorce is more prevalent. Separation and breaking up is much more prevalent. Well, I tried with this person, it didn't work, so I'm going to move on and try with another person. Maybe that'll work. And that's all well and good. Um, and I even will go so far as to say that I fully support that to some extent. Because basic human emotion, basic human want, need, and feel is to go off a trial and error based system.
Right.
Hey, I think I really like this person. I think I really want to make things work with this person. Oh, turns out this person wasn't what I thought they were. Turns out this person wasn't what I thought they needed. Okay, I'm going to move on to somebody else. And while that is now much more socially acceptable, what we lose sight of is the fact that we have removed God from everything. And like I said, I'm not coming on the show trying to preach, but if everybody would stop and take a step back and realize that some of the things that we go through, it's just basic human shit, man. Like, all bullshit aside, it is just standard human shit. It doesn't mean that you messed up with that person or that they messed up with you, or, maybe it does. But the fact of the matter is, you learn from what you go through, you take a step back, you reevaluate the situation, and you do whatever you can to move forward as the individual that you are. You learn from what happened and make yourself feel better, or make yourself better. I'm sorry, not feel better, but better in the process. You can try to falsify documentation and make yourself feel better all you want to. But if you are unwilling to do the work on yourself in the areas where you lack or drop the ball, then the only person you have to blame at the end of every day is yourself. You can't blame the person that you're in the relationship with when you are unwilling to do the work that you need to do to make it work. But if you are doing the work and that person still isn't meeting you, halfway, because that's what people tend to forget, big boy. Relationships are not 75-25. They are not 100, or they are not 99-1. They are not any other percentage other than 50-50. It has to be 50-50, both parties. And if you can't do that, then don't worry about it. You can make so many mistakes. You can blame yourself for anything that happens. You can give up. You can check out. You can do whatever that you think or feel in the moment is best for you. But when you decide to stop trying, when you decide to give up, that's a completely different issue. Okay? That is no longer the other party's fault. That is when it becomes your fault. Because you are ultimately the one who dictates your own happiness. You are ultimately the one person who decides, yes, I'm going to be better because of this, or no, I'm going to allow myself to be hung up and self-destruct over it. It's that simple. And a lot of people don't like to hear that black and white type of truth, but that's exactly what it is. You either love yourself for who you are, you accept yourself for who you are in love with yourself for who you are, or you change the things about yourself that you find lacking. And it's not based off of somebody else's opinion. And that's where everybody drops the ball. Everybody tries to change themselves based off of somebody else's opinion of themselves. Stop looking for validation in others. Find validation within yourself. Find that true sense of validation and purpose within yourself. It is literally that simple. You still there, big boy?
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Now, what I was saying was I believe that, I mean, at 50-50 is where it's supposed to be at. But I always seen it as being 100-100. Because both parties got to put 100% into a relationship for it to work, I feel. And it's like, if one person falls or struggles, the other person got to be able to, step up and help their partner out with whatever they're going through. And one thing that people don't do now, we don't listen to each other. And or we don't or we don't want to confide into the next in the person we're with about what's going on. And we always want to try to fix it, or try to handle it ourselves, and forget about the person we're with. So a lot of it has to do with communication and this communication and listening. So
I agree with that. However, I have a rebuttal to the point you said about 100-100. And my rebuttal to that point is the simple fact that most people don't fully know who they are
Wow. Yes.
themselves 100. So therefore they can't give 100 in that aspect. You know what I mean? Like it has to be 50-50, because in a 50-50 type of, scenario, or a 50-50 type of situation, there is always room for error. You don't put that person on a pedestal. They don't put you on a pedestal. And that's the problem with most people in a relationship, is once you get into a relationship with that person, you put them on a pedestal and you set shit so high and you set expectations so high that when they do mess up and when they do fall and when they are human, there is no absolute possible way for you to accept the failure that you see in front of you. There is no absolute possible way for you to deal with the fact that they have let you down, or there's no possible way for them to deal with the fact that you have let them down. Everybody needs to remember something going forward in relationships. To err is to be human.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, people don't realize that people make mistakes, and you're exactly right. Now, people tend to set their standards so high, or people on to where they think they want them to be, and as soon as they mess up, like you said, it is in the world. So, like you're right. I mean, people need to understand that people make mistakes, and life is all about making mistakes and learning from them.
It is. And you're absolutely right on that point. But the problem is, while that is so easy to say, while that is so easy to acknowledge, while that is so easy to bring up and deal with, the problem is every time it gets brought up to deal with, nobody, and I repeat, nobody deals with it, because everything has turned into the fact that you made a mistake. You fucked me over. I'm going to fuck you over. You fucked me over, bitch. I'm going to fuck you over, bitch. You're an asshole. Yeah, no, you're an asshole. And nobody can move past the finger pointing stage. See, here's the thing. It takes two people to make a relationship successful.
Right.
And it takes two people to make a relationship fail. And for our listeners, for anybody who did not hear that, I'm going to repeat it again. It takes two people to make a relationship successful. And it takes two people to make a relationship fail. It's not one or the other. It is both.
Exactly right. That is true. I mean, it takes two people to make anything work. I mean, in a relationship, because it's even worse. I mean, you have more experience than this than what I have. Even worse when you have kids involved. I mean, an outside view of it, I think that it's even harder. I mean, your relationship with someone that has kids involved. You know what I'm saying? And especially if the kids get attached to the person you're with, or what the case may be, that makes it challenging too. Because these days everybody generally has kids. You might find a few, a select few that may not have kids yet, but it's common.
Well, but
so what's your views on that?
That is an entirely different scenario. I myself,
you there?
I have 3 kids.
Did I lose you?
I have three. Yeah.
Are you
And
there?
yeah, you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I myself have three children. Um, and I know that, like most parents, my kids are the center of my universe. Um, you know, every every once in a while, um, you're going to come across scenarios and situations where, um, that's not always going to be the case. Um, Sometimes people with kids will oftentimes get involved into relationships with people that don't have kids.
Right.
And the expectation that people with kids place on the other party that is involved with the situation that doesn't have kids is sometimes astronomical. It is sometimes extremely hard to deal with. Um, you cannot teach someone who is not a parent, who has never been a parent, to be a parent. If you do not have kids, you do not know.
Right.
It is literally that simple. My take on the whole stance, as somebody who has kids and has somebody who has been with someone who didn't have kids, is the fact that a lot of times I was guilty. I was guilty, big boy, of putting too much pressure on them. How in the hell can you teach? I'm sorry, how in the HE double hockey sticks you teach someone how to be a parent who doesn't know?
That's true.
The expectations and the pressure and everything that you put on that person is ridiculous. It's not their fault. They're not a parent. They don't know.
Right. And I totally understand that because in my last relationship, the person I was with had kids too, and and she had a younger kid, and so the way that she did things is, and mentally for me, from and I thought it was she should do this or she needs to stop doing this because I'm thinking back and how I grew up, the way I was raised when I was that age, you know what I'm saying, or how like I got a younger sibling, or also nieces and nephews that I helped take care of, or past relationships where the person had a young child, like a baby or something, and I was there and I helped, all that stuff, and you see that these things like they shouldn't be. Come on, come on now. Don't let her do this and that. Don't let her. Just let her. Just and then you're like, but then again, you find it hard to step over that boundary because you don't want to cause a problem with the other person.
But see, that's the thing. And that's what most people forget is when you enter into a relationship with a person who doesn't have children, the only thing they have to fall back on is how they were raised.
Exactly right.
And that's the basic truth of life, brother. Um, if the only thing you have to know, if the only thing you have to draw any type of uh, knowledge or experience from is your own rearing or upbringing, then there is no way in hell. I mean, heck, he double hockey sticks, that anybody has the right to hold that against you, because you don't have the experience. You don't know. You really don't. There is no way, and I repeat, no way for you to have any type of parental upbringing other than what you experienced with your own parents.
Right.
And that's a lot of times where, we as parents, I'm throwing myself in that conversation because I'm a parent. I've got 3, as I said earlier. That is a lot of times where we put so much pressure on the other party that is involved, and we forget the fact that they don't know any better. But vice versa, shoe being on the other foot, oftentimes we get into relationships with people who are parents having no idea how to parent kids of our own. And when we fall back on our own upbringing, it causes conflict, because how you bring kids up nowadays isn't necessarily the tough love generation that you and I were raised from. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
right, exactly.
if I back talked, I got smacked in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
CPS didn't get called. Child, there was nothing for me when I back talked my mother. My mother clocked me over the head with a freaking rolling pin. But you know
Right.
what? I deserved it. I was raised tough love. I'm from a tough love generation. And that's exactly how everything rolls, man.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back right back at you.
Uh-oh.
Had a little lost connection there, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
But
No, like I said, I'm a I'm a child of the 80s. You
right, me
know,
too. I was born in '85.
I uh I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and I found myself and other things during that time period. In the
Right.
80s, I mean, for all the listeners, please forgive me for being so frank. Um, if your kid mouthed off to you, you knock the shit out of them.
Well, that's being real. I mean, that's literally how it was back in the day. I mean, I remember one time when I was wrestling with my dad, and my dad told me to stop 3 times. And next thing you know, I'm flipped over in the headlock, like, no, I told you to stop. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it was. I mean, and you listen, you knew when you got in trouble, knowing you getting a whooping from your mama. But when your dad gets home from work, he's gonna wake you up and whoop you then too. And then
Yep.
or if you live in a neighborhood where your whole family there's or your neighbors, everybody knew each other. You're getting whooped by every single person as soon as you get home, like, as you going home. So that's that saying there. It takes a what's that saying? It takes a village to raise a child.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
and now it's not that no more. It's social media. It's technology in the kids these days, and that's I mean it's ridiculous how, like, I was on YouTube and I was looking at these different parenting, how parents are were like destroying their kids' computers and stuff because the kids are like mouthing off to them. And it's insane how these kids act when they're knowing they're in the wrong, mouthing off to their parents, cussing them out, this or stealing or whatever it is, and they take their stuff and destroy it. And these kids are crying, yelling, screaming. I mean, just going off. And that's society. That's how it is. And you can't raise your kids how you used to be back in the day because now these days you get put in jail.
Yep, absolutely. 100% totally and completely accurate. You know, you told the story of your dad. I'll tell the story of my mama real quick. I think our listeners will get a kick out of it. So, my mama, 5'1", Italian lady, born and bred. She was never one to tolerate, and that is the best word that describes my mother. She was never one to tolerate too much. Again, apologize, listeners. Bullshit. She was never one that would take it. And I was 16 years old one day, and I was standing in the kitchen with my mom, and my mom asked me to do something. And of course, 16 years old, I'm full of piss and vinegar. I'm completely opinionated. I am, now considerably larger than my mother at 16 years old. And I had just decided at that point, I'd had enough. I was tired of being told what to do all the time and this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And all my mother did was ask me to grab oven mitts and pull the quiche out of the oven. That's it. She did nothing wrong. She didn't belittle me in any way.
What is quiche for some? What is quiche for some of our listeners might not know what quiche is?
Oh God, you're gonna put me on spot.
Hey, I don't know what quiche is, man. Being real.
All right, so excuse me. For lack of a better term, quiche is nothing more than whatever filling you want in between croissants. Okay. So for my mom, she made a ham and broccoli quiche. So it was ham, broccoli, cheese, and it was in between Pillsbury Doughboy crescent roll crusts. That's what it was that day.
That sounds good.
She made a poor man's quiche. So for any of our listeners who will hear that, she made a poor man's quiche. She asked me to take it out of the oven. She said, it's done. She says, I don't want it to burn, blah, blah, blah. And I turned around and I looked at her and I said, I don't really know why you got to speak to me in that tone of voice. And she goes, boy, what tone of voice are you talking about? All I did was ask you to take the quiche out of the oven. I said, yeah, Ma, I know. I get it. And I can still hear myself to this day saying the same damn thing to her. I really can. I was like, but you didn't have to say it in that way. And my mom, God love her heart, she was absolutely 100%, and I mean 100% in the right. Turned around and went to backhand me in my mouth for mouthing off because I deserved it. And I reached up and I caught her hand. I grabbed my mother's hand as she was smacking my mouth, and she looked at me and she gave me the mom look that all mothers out there know they have on their kids. Big Boy's mom knows she has it. My mom knows she has it. And every other woman in the world who has ever been a mom knows that they have that look. And she said, "Boy." I said, "Yes, ma'am." At that point, I knew I had been defeated. As they say in Mortal Kombat, finish him. And that's
Like that.
exactly what the hell happened.
It's like that. It's like the little saying, "As I knew right then, I messed
Mm,
up."
absolutely. And I grabbed her arm and she said, "Boy, I'm going to tell you right now, you better get down on your knees and you better let me smack you in the mouth." And I'm going to tell you something. At 16 years old, you know, God, 22 years later, 22 years has passed since that day. And my mother, still to this day, tells that story. And she says, "You know what?" She said, "My son showed me the absolute most respect after showing me the absolute most disrespect he's ever shown me in his entire life. In that one moment, I got down on my knees and I let my mom pop me 3 times in the mouth." And I'm going to tell you, I learned a lesson that day, because it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you come from. You're always going to have a mama. And if your ass cannot love and respect the woman who brought you into this world, the woman that you have no idea what she went through getting you here, raising you up, rearing you, taking care of you, teaching you things that you needed to know your entire life. If you cannot respect that woman, then by God's son, don't you ever, and I mean ever, expect any relationship that you are ever in, any woman, man, whatever your case may be, whatever your preference is, don't you ever expect anyone to respect you if you cannot respect your mama.
and that depends on, like, back, like in our time frame. Yes, mothers, but these days some mothers are just as bad, just as bad as the kids. And I remember my grandmother telling me that you treat the woman you're with like how you treat your mother. And that's the same thing you just said. And I, until this day, I still live by that. I love my mom. I do anything for my mom. And I do anything for my sister. I do anything for my dad. But it's just, mom always had a soft spot, no matter what situation is. I've had moments where I felt so down in life, and I'm like, and my mom pops up. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mhm.
like, moms are very important. I mean, and that's the thing about it, though. It's like,
Look,
eh,
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be 100 right now. The day that my mama goes, my soul is gonna die, and that's just being 100% honest. My mama is the core value and the core upbringing of myself as a person and as a man. And
mhm.
and that's the thing. That is, oh my gosh, I'm going to get on another soapbox, and God forgive me. I'm sorry, big boy. But that's the thing that everybody has a tendency to forget.
Hmm.
You have the love of a woman from the beginning of your conception. If you do not learn how to love a woman based off of how you love your mama, then you got no business being with that woman. Period.
Bro, bro, that's deep, though. That is really deep, man, because you just brought a whole nother flip twist to that love. Because I I didn't really think about it like that. I mean, I love my mom and I try to love the woman I'm with, you know, as much as I can. But you saying that if you can't love the woman you with like you love your mama, you don't need to be with them. Wow, that's deep, bro. That's deep.
I mean, but that is legitimate. I mean, that
Right.
is absolutely the truth. If you are unwilling to love a woman the way you love your mama, unconditionally. Now, see, that's the thing. And that's where everybody loses focus. That's where everybody messes up. That is where all relationships fail. From a woman's perspective, from a man's perspective, if you cannot love that woman the way that you love your mama or the way that you love your daddy, if you cannot give that type of love, affection to your partner, then you have absolutely zero business being in any relationship of any kind. And I will say that one more time. If you cannot love a woman the way you love your mama, and ladies, if you cannot love a man the way that you love your daddy, you have no business being in a relationship with that person to begin with. It
Now
is
here's
literally that simple.
here's the thing about that that can that can make that situation tough too. Is if a lot of people parents have either one have been bad parents or two they abuse their kids and they're scared to love someone because of those hurts and pains that their parents. So that's a whole nother spectrum that people have to look at too. Is their
No,
is how they were raised and how how they're raised and how their past was.
no, and you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is if you can't love that person with the same innocence, see, and that's the thing, and that's the thing that people forget. The basic human need of love is so simply based on innocence.
Right.
If you can innocently love someone with all of your being, that is what I'm referring to.
Right.
I'm not sitting here saying that, you know, I'm not sitting here saying that different people's backgrounds, different people's upbringings, different people's scenarios with their mom and their dad is going to dictate this and that. What I'm simply talking about is a simple innocence that love itself was simply meant and simply entitled to be.
Right. And and
That's
and,
it.
and, all, and the only reason why I threw that out there because you have somebody out there that's going to say, "Well, my dad abused me," or this and that. So that's the only reason why I threw that out there. That way we can kind of cover all bases. But on a positive, good upbringing and this and that, yes, you're exactly right. I mean, if you can't love your parents like the person like you love, now of course you're gonna have a different kind of love for the person you're with than what your parents did, but you want still need to have that unconditional love for the person you're with for the relationship to work, and that's on both sides.
Right, but see that goes back to the basics though.
Hmm.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about. That goes back to the basics of what you want to do or what you are willing to do in order to make it work. And sometimes, and this is the truth. This is the problem. This is everything in between.
Hmm.
Sometimes, no matter what you do, no matter how much you put yourself in, no matter how much you love yourself, no matter how much you give the best of yourself, it is sometimes never going to be enough.
That's true.
Sometimes it's never going to work.
Yep.
And that's the thing is we spend so much time, we spend so much effort, we exert as human beings so much energy investing ourselves, our time, our wants, our feelings, and everything else into a person who would not throw water on us if we were on fire.
Bro,
Most
that
of the time,
true.
most of the time, we spend more energy into people that would throw gasoline on us if we were on fire.
Man, whoa, but you're hitting on some stuff right there, bro. You're hitting on some stuff that is deep because that is true. You're exactly right because relationships becoming toxic, and instead of trying to be there for that person, you're more or less trying to be away from or put them more down to destroy them. But yeah, you hit on something, man. You hit on something deep.
But see, that's the thing. And again, that is ultimately one of the things that defines us as human beings. It shows just how, God, dare I say, inept we are as human beings. Um, at the fact that we will invest more of our time and more of ourselves into a person who absolutely hates us, who absolutely belittles and destroys us, then we will a person who actually, even though we think they don't, just loves us for who we are.
Yeah, that's you're exactly right. I mean, you are exactly right. I mean, that's exactly right, man. And it's that toxicity. I can't even say that word. Toxicity of it.
Toxicity.
Yeah, boy, woo, of it that for some reason it keeps us still there, and it's like we know what we need to do. We know we need to leave, but it's hard for us to leave because we don't want to be alone, and that's the
We
problem.
thrive. We as a society thrive more off of toxicity than we do nurturing, and
Right.
that's the problem. And that's if you want to cut it down and you want to be just God, dare I say, blunt about it, if we would spend half the amount of energy investing ourselves into healthy relationships as we do unhealthy relationships, we as a society would be better off.
But you want to know something also too that we as society have troubles with. we have trouble with learning how to be alone and take time for ourselves to find
Oh, brother, you are preaching to the choir. Preach,
to find
brother. You
to find
preach.
themselves because everybody's so involved with having this social life and this all this is so involved, but no one wants to take the time to sit down and just embrace quiet, the peace. You know what I'm saying? Because you're and once we start learning how to and to learn how to live to be alone, to enjoy and to find ourselves and find our true happiness and find what we did can to fix ourselves internally, then we can go out there and try to embrace others. But the problem, that's one of the problems is I have that problem, dude. I have a problem with I feel like I gotta have somebody, you know, but I don't want. But sometimes I sit down and I'm sitting in a room by myself, and I got the lights off, and then it's like, man, this is peaceful. Now, my dad told me, like when I was younger, dude. I'm not sure if your folks ever told you this too, but my dad told me when I was younger, I would say, "Dad, I'm bored and stuff. Ain't nothing to do." My dad told me he was like, "Son, when you get older, you're gonna enjoy that time when there's nothing to do. We can just sit down and just relax." And I understand that then, like what? But now I'm older and I work all the time and stuff, and now, like right now, I'm relaxed. I got my tea, I got my fireplace going. I'm in the living room. I got a little mood light going. It's peaceful. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking to my homie. We're having, this is like I'm relaxed. And sometimes people need to just take themselves out of this. I need to be with someone equation and to sit down and just relax and reflect and meditate. And if you do all that, you might see things a lot differently. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you. And you just hit the nail right on the head. See, the problem with humans in general, and this covers every individual human being who is walking on the planet, the need for companionship is so prevalent. It is so much a need, a want, a desire to have somebody with you by your side is basic human emotion. The problem
We
is that is not necessarily the case for everybody.
we want to know something that's crazy about that. You think that we have been bred to always have companionship, even from day one, even from Adam and Eve. God made Eve because He said man should not be alone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not something that it's just happened. No, it's we've been bred, we've been made to not be alone. We have been made to be social creatures. We have been made to to have somebody or be in a pack or be in a you know what I'm saying. So that's why you have to redefine the term being alone as far as not saying I need to be alone and being I need for rock and not no I'm talking about being learn how to enjoy alone time or peaceful time, quiet time to learn how to recharge, reflect, so that you can go out there and be the better you because you took that time to reflect, recharge. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a electric car. Electric car is going to die down. The battery's going to die. But what you got to do? You got to stick it on the charger so the battery can recharge, decharge, and rebuild that battery health so you can take on whatever challenges you need to take on. There's nothing wrong with having a quiet room. Just to sit there for 15, 20 minutes, just to just to drain your head and just reflect. I was like, all right, cool, and just do that. And, and people don't want to do that. People don't do that.
Yeah. Once again, as I stated earlier, you're right. But the thing is, when you get something ingrained into you so much, again, basic human need, basic human want, basic human anything is companionship. You
Exactly.
can use Adam and Eve. That is if you want to go from a historical perspective, that is the first basis that we have
Right.
for human companionship. But the difference is what started for Adam and Eve may not be the same thing that works for Adam and Steve or Sally and Eve. Our society has changed so much.
Exactly.
Our society is so intermixed. It is so bilingual. It is so different from what, oh my gosh, the core values may claim or say to be. It doesn't mean that it is wrong. It doesn't mean that it is right. It just means that at this moment in time, what we as people, what we as human beings, and what we should do for one another is simply love and accept each other for who and what we are, good, bad, ugly, in between. My decisions in my life, unless you are my children, unless you are my wife, and again, please excuse this for our listeners. I'm just being blunt. If you're not feeding me, fucking me, or paying my bills, you got no business telling me how to live my life. It's
That's
that
true.
simple.
And that's true. I mean, that's the thing about you got everyone out there trying to tell everybody how to live or how to do this and this and that. And it's like, no. I mean, if you're not, like I say, it's so funny. It's so funny you say that, Jake. It's so funny you say because, I got a Camaro SS, right? It's nice, nice car, And I had so many girls that be like, let me drive it. I'm like, no. Why? I said, look, if you ain't one of the three people, you ain't my mom, or you ain't my woman, or one of my boys that fixes cars, you're not driving my car. And people get mad about that. It's like it's just people. It just behooves me. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like,
I mean, you got to understand, at some point, you have to realize it is what it is,
yeah,
right?
that's true.
You're walking life, your wants, your feelings, your desires may not mesh up with the person that you're with.
That's true.
And that's okay. That's okay. Our differences is what makes us great. And if we could all stop and realize that just because I may not come from the same background as you, just because I may not be raised the same way you were, just because I may not think or feel or value the same things you do, doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean that I discredit you in any way. If
Hmm.
we could all just learn to be socially acceptable, we would go a long fucking way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We would go a long way to just taking care of the basic needs. Basic. We all need to understand and realize that when everything's said and done, skin tone, race, beliefs, everything, we are all vanilla. We are all basic. It's that simple.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Everybody, it is so sad that this day and age that we're still fighting with that segregational mindset. I mean, it's sad. We're still fighting with that today. A segregational mindset, and we're in the most. And this world is so mixed, melting pot of everything. We're still fighting those old old mindsets today.
And that's the thing, brother. That's the thing. That is that is not something that's going to stop.
No,
That's
it's
not
not.
something that's going to change. We can all claim and preach and want and pray for a better tomorrow, but the fact of the matter remains is man, forgive me for being so honest. Okay?
Hmm.
But the problem is everybody is always going to be looking out for number one being themselves, and as long as
Yep.
themselves is taken care of, screw and fuck whatever everybody else thinks and feels. And until we get away from that single-minded selfishness, we will never grow as a society. And
Nope. You won't.
unfortunately, I don't think and feel personally in my lifetime that is something that we will ever see. And
I,
as I said earlier, I'm 38 years old. I have been fighting against this my entire life. I have had Mexican friends, black friends, Asian friends, all colors, all spectrums, my entire life. And none of it has been socially acceptable by the PC, politically correct for our listener standard. And it is absolute and total bullshit. Love your fellow man as you love yourself, and everything will work itself out. It is literally that simple, and people can't do it.
exactly. And that, I mean, that's literally true. That's true. I mean, it's literally it's true. I mean, we are in
Look,
a opportunity where people out there can make so much of a difference, man. People are so talented that they can make so much of a difference in one person's life or 100 people's life or 1,000 people's life or whatever people's lives, but no one wants to get over their own self.
yeah, you're exactly right. And I'll even go one step further. You're a Florida Gators fan. You're SEC. I hate you. I'm an Ohio State fan. Big Ten all the way. But you know what? I absolutely fucking love you as an individual. And I would lay down my life at any moment's notice if it meant that you got to breathe one more day. You're an amazing
That's
man. You are an amazing man. And I'm telling you right now, don't ever sell yourself short and do not ever accept society's standards of you.
that's likewise you, man. I mean, I know when we first met, we bumped heads and this and that. We had our little spits and spats like normal people do. But
Little
as
is
the
an understatement.
yeah, but but as the years and years and years and years has went by, we've grown
6
to have a
years.
we have
6
grown to have
years.
a great friendship.
6 years. 6 years have come and passed in our lives. And I'm telling you right now, at the end of every day, there is not anybody that I know that I could call on or depend on damn near outside of my mama more than you.
Like I said, no matter where, I mean, no matter what happens, I still say bye to you, and I'll still be like, hey man, are you done being a little girl, or I'll say something smart to you, and we're good. And next day, no, we're cool. That's what people need to do. People need to forgive and forget quickly instead of try to hold on to grudges or try to like eat them up. And that's the problem. People hold on to stuff so much that it destroys them. It destroys them. When you learn how to let things go, like that song, let it go, let it go, let it go. If you can just do that, man, life
Please,
is so
dear
much.
God, please, dear God, I love you to death. Please do not quote that song. My daughter traumatized me for 6 years over that song.
But I'm just saying, people need to let things go and just keep on moving and just keep on and because tomorrow's not promised. You know what? The next second is not promised at all.
Absolutely.
And once people can realize that the next second, the next minute, the next hour is not promised, I think the mindsets of people would change. But nobody wants to realize that, and that's what's sad.
Well, I'm gonna ask your I'm gonna ask your permission for something.
Uh
Would you
oh.
mind if I take the next 2 to 3 minutes just to talk to our listeners?
Hey, we're on the last 5 minutes of this podcast, and this is for our closing thoughts. And always in the traditional thing, we have a guest. Always let the guest have the closing minutes, the closing thoughts, the closing, however you want to call it. But Jake Wade, go ahead and close this out, brother.
All right. So I'm Jake Wade. I'm 38 years old. I have made every mistake that a single human individual can make. I am still to this day continuing to learn from the, oh, dear God, multitude of errors that I have made in my entire life. However, I do want to take a time out from the segment to touch on one single individual point: mental health, mental stability. I want everybody to know, okay, if you are struggling, if you are fighting something, if you are defeated and you feel like there is absolutely zero way out, do not, and I repeat, in all caps, do not ever give up. My number is 812-208-1978. You call me, you text me, you hit me up on Facebook, and you mess. Hey, bro, how you doing?
Hey, you got to get a little quick break for the sponsors. But yeah, man, you're exactly right. No, we do. Parents, I mean, I agree with you. Parents can't put a lot of pressure on another person with, especially. But like a quick recap, we were just been talking about relationships, how the mindset and how things have changed from the past until now and stuff. And now we're just talking about how the kids play a role in the relationship. Um, from what I experienced too, from a person I was talking to, is you get the kind of parent that's like, well, you can't tell my kid anything. That's my child. You can't do this, this, and that. Right there, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but in my opinion, right there, you're already starting to destroy the relationship already up front by you saying that.
Well, I mean, I am of coming forward to this generation. I can now honestly say I am of two different mindsets as far as that goes. On one mindset, I'm old school. I was raised old school. I was raised tough love. In the 80s, you beat the
These signals. But go ahead, brother.
think it's going to let us record anymore.
Well, go ahead and try to get your last thoughts in there. So,
If you feel like you're at your wit's end, if you feel like you're defeated, don't ever give up. Get a hold of LaRon. Get a hold of me. Reach out to us on our podcast. We will always be here for you. My number is 812-208-1978. Text me, call me.
264-6448.
Text us, call us anytime. Do not think that your only way out is checking out permanently. We got you. You get a hold of us, we will go through it together. I promise you, it will be better than what you think currently in the situation that it will be. LaRon, floor is yours.
Well, exactly right. I know there's a lot of resources out there that you can seek. I hope that you can seek if you're going through those issues. But like I said, if you do need someone to talk to, if you're going through an issue, you got our numbers. Just get a hold of us. We will be glad to talk to you anytime. But the main thing is too, if you're going through an issue, please, I beg you, please seek help. Seek medical help versus seek help in general to help with these issues or these problems you're going through. Because like you said, checking out permanently is not the answer. So, in the closing, I just want to say, Jake Wade, it was an honor again to speak with you and have you on the podcast. Like I said, we need to keep on doing these as much as we can because I feel like we have a mission, a mission to reach people and help them. But until the next time, brother, because today is Turkey Day. You enjoy your family time, and everyone out there have a great, amazing, blessed Thanksgiving, and enjoy your family. LaRon Dillon, big boy, signing out. Jake Wade, closes out, brother.
All right, brother. I appreciate you hitting me up. I appreciate your friendship. I love you more than you will ever possibly know. And thank you for hitting me up tonight. Happy Turkey Day, everybody. Good night.
Good night.